Hello there, folks.
Hi there!
So it's yet another episode of Würfel Cast, episode 73, and the topic of the day is top 10 clever games.
Woohoo!
Yeah, but before we get to the topic of the day, we have quite a few things to go through, and I think without further ado, let's just start and go with recent plays. And while I set up the screen, Kyle, why don't you start telling me about what you played recently?
Okay, so the game I'm going to talk about is one that I had learned. It isn't necessarily a brand new release, but I had tried it for the first time at Essen and then ended up getting a copy myself. It's the subtitle of the game really describes what it is, but the game is Decorum, and it's some subtitle of like the passive aggressive game of, or the game of passive aggressive cohabitation. Uh,
So,
and what you do in the game, right, is you're decorating a house. And each person has some needs for the house, right? And the house has a variety of things it could have. It could, it has four rooms that are, left, right, top, and bottom, and they can be a different color red, yellow, green, or blue. And they have room for up to three objects, which can be of wall hangings, clocks, and curios, and they come from different style periods, and they're in different colors. And you have on your card a list of 4 or 5 requirements, like there has to be one green object in every room, and none of the objects can have the same style, and we can't have lamps upstairs. And it's some sort of list of requirements, and your partner has another list of requirements, and each turn you're going to make a change to the decor of the house, and then ask your partner if they like it or not. And you're trying to find a way to without communicating, to get your needs met while also allowing your partner to get their needs met, of course, without actually discussing what's going on. And
mhm.
it's a very interesting game. It's possible to play with two or three, with 3 or 4. But I think it's really going to shine best as a two-player game. And the cards give you a character to role play, so there's sort of that as well. And it's one that's very light on rules. It's basically the 5 things you can do, and and the one thing you can't, which is talk about what you really feel. And you're just
Mhm.
trying to sort of meet each other's needs and communicate in a bit of a passive aggressive way. And I find it to be quite enjoyable. It's just a very charming game. It's not going to win any awards for most innovative game mechanisms or anything like that, but it can be a lot of fun just to sort of sit and play. Supposedly, if you play through all the solo, or not solo, two-player scenarios, it's characters that sort of keep coming back and interact with each other's and develop things in different ways. So I'm looking forward to continuing to try it, but I've had a really good time with Decorum.
Interesting, yeah. Does it have? It's like the. Is there a deluxe version and like the retail version? Because I've seen like some of these were seem to be acrylic.
Yes, so you can buy some acrylic pieces separately.
Are these? Yeah.
I looked for them, but they were out of stock when I got the game. But yes, there's you can just go to the company's website and purchase some. It's not a
Oh,
deluxe
cool.
game; it's just the acrylic pieces.
Hmm. It's it seems to be useless but cool. It's
Yeah, exactly.
yeah for
Uh,
such a game such a I would say small game. Yeah, it sounds very basic. It looks cool. I mean, it looks different from many other games out there. You have
it
your
definitely is.
dream home. I know the dream home is the one where you decorate your house as well.
Correct, but you're just decorating your own in that one, and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
not sort of navigating your partner's
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
nonverbal feedback.
Yeah, passive aggressive. All right. So my pick for today. So as you probably know, and you can go watch it. There's a new, let's say, show or video segment that I started doing. It's Quick Dive, and Quick Dive is not about just quick videos and stuff like that. Quick Dive means we'll talk about the game quick thoughts, some basic thoughts about the game, no overview, stuff like that. So we did that, but we did a special, extremely long episode. But it was because we had a board game weekend where we played a total of 11 games, basically in a row. We slept, of course, as well. But the thing is that there's 11 games, and we talk about all of the 11 games. You can go watch Quick Dive episode 1. This already a special episode. Further on, these episodes, it's like a segue into my recent play. But so just to advertise this new show. So Quick Dive will be about 3 different games, very quick thoughts, a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, and a very basic overview. Just few sentences thrown in, just to make you know, like a BGG description kind of a overview kind of a thing. And I'll probably be doing this alone, or sometimes with my friend Andres, who was on Würfel reviews channel long time ago when we just started. And yeah, so you can go watch that. But one of the games I talked about there, and now I can talk about it here as well, is Godspeed. And I'll be able to talk about it a little bit more in depth, let's say. At least the overview, something like that, so you can better understand this game. So Godspeed, it's 2020 game, okay. So I didn't know when it came out, but I've heard about this one. I was like, okay, sounds cool, interesting. And this is a, like Mind Clash Games does a lot of games where they throw all the different mechanisms into the game, all sorts of things are like a sync, But here, it kind of feels almost the same, but not as difficult. But you have your communication with the players, negotiation kind of type of a thing. You have bidding there, you have worker placement, you have kind of a majority kind of a thing, charts or whatever they are. The tracks, you go up, and the goals and etc. All your own stuff. So there's a lot going on. Rulebook is not the best, and I didn't read the rulebook. I was taught the game, but we had a lot of questions, so I took the rulebook in my own hands and started looking at this rulebook and realized how bad it is. But the game is about real nations, and that's already a weird thing. We discussed that. It's not race to the moon. It's not the space race kind of thing, but I don't even know what's this game about. You're already on the moon or planet or whatever, and you're building. It's futuristic. It's alternative reality kind of a thing. It's in the future, scientific, and but you're real nations. I would have loved for it to be corporations or something like that. It's like, it's weird how I play India, but a lot of alien stuff here. It's like, I don't know. It just feels weird. There's Australia, US, USSR. It's like we go back in time, but we go forth in time. I don't know. So in this game, you have those different workers, if I can find them. As you can see here, the tokens, and the biologist, engineer, captain, and etc. And they have different strengths, strength numbers, and every player has a little bit different customization of those. You might have 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 5. Another player might have 2, 2, 2, but 5, 5, or something like that. So you are using these workers to fulfill the needs, the common needs, and then to bid on the other kind of a card stack where you can the more you bid, the better the choice will be. Basically, you're choosing first. If you bid the most, you choose first, etc. And you choose those special cards. They can be assistants, which are basically replacements for the tokens for workers that you can use once and then discard. They are basically, they ignore the rules of placement. Like in worker placement, if the spot is taken, like, let's say you put the engineer down, this spot is taken. But with assistant card, which is also engineer, let's say, I can go there with the card and use the spot even if it's filled. It's like all of these cards, and all the cards you can have relics and stuff. resources, whatever. It's all the different cards. So there's the majority effect. Then you go to the next basically phase, which is worker placement. Whatever workers you have left, because whatever you bid goes away. So you need to be precise what you bid, what you leave for the worker placement stuff. When you start putting the workers down, then there's your usual worker placement. You can have resources, you can have the building cards. The building cards are basically, there's the build cost, and on the bottom it gives you usually just a progression on the prestige track, which basically you're going up the chart, the track, whatever. It's nothing special. It just extra points at the end of the game if you are further on the track, kind of a thing. Very simple cards and other things. And also the thing is that because there are different workers like engineer, diplomat, and whatever, the biologist, etc., they can go into different spots. So I cannot go with like when there's diplomacy, I have to go with the diplomat there. And let's say diplomat, and it's a good action. But the diplomat is number 7, so he's strong in bidding. They're strong in bidding, so you might use them in bidding. So all of that, it's, and there's a majority in things like or set collection. You build 3 different all the different buildings first. You get this extra token of appreciation. You get points in the game, whatever, And there's the relics as well, and etc. and goals and such. And at the beginning of a round, you also pull out the card, which is like some flavor text. Nobody cared about flavor text here. And there's the choice. So if everybody gives away one worker, let's say it says, if you give away an engineer, the bad stuff won't happen to you. Bad stuff is usually something small. Discard a resource or go down the chart, whatever, If everybody does that, then we all get a positive effect. Like, you get an extra card, you can build an extra thing, whatever, So if some of us refuses to do that, then those who still contributed, they will not be given any positive, but they will not be given negative as well. So they are basically neutral in the middle. They just gave away the worker for nothing, but didn't get the negative. And sometimes it's very important. And so eventually you're kind of negotiating, like, everyone needs this resource that we get from that card. Come on, let's do that. But sometimes, like, no, I need my diplomat, and it says you need to put the diplomat here. Like, I cannot. I need my diplomat, etc. So all of that stuff. So it's not complicated in a sense. There's a lot going on, but actually, I wouldn't say streamlined, but it's straightforward. I'd say straightforward. And my concerns about this game is I feel it's anticlimactic. So you start doing some things, and then the chart, which is very important because you build the buildings, and those buildings, they are giving you the progression on that chart, or whatever the prestige track, and you can see here, you can go, you pay resources, you go up or down on this chart, whatever. But the thing is that eventually, when you are very high up, let's say, and the other players didn't really invest in that particular track, like, okay, I'm building those buildings, but for what? I cannot go further than 12. If you are locked on a spot 12, nobody else can go on top of you, because 12 is like a locked spot, the last spot, and you don't really get much. You get like few resources if you pass 2 points on the track, whatever. It's anticlimactic. Like, at the end, you're like, okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this exact worker to go to that exact spot, and that's it. And like, at the end, we're like just throwing the workers into this bidding because we didn't care about the bidding cards anymore. Like, it feels like there's not much to do in the end. You already have done most of your things, and then you probably need just one more card for set collection, whatever. This is the one thing, and the bidding itself is cool. I like that. The worker placement is cool, but it's not outstanding. It's your
Okay.
it's like a cool combination of things, but your average gameplay. I still liked the whole premise. I just cannot see how it could, like, it should have been progressed somehow, you know. And all those you gain this, you gain that when you complete that. And the other thing which bothers me, there are those relics basically, and you can get the relics once you get the relic plan, so you can build the relic building, cryptid. You know, this relic building, which can be built like the other buildings that you have. They can be built whenever, you know, picked resources built. Um, you have the spot for it, the worker spot. But relic building can be built if you get the relic plan, building plan, whatever, you know, the card from the bidding. And then eventually you get the cards which give you the relic powers. And then you can exchange those cards for relic powers. The game is played over 10 rounds, and you start getting those powers on round 7. So the cool stuff, the special abilities, the way you can customize yourself, something interesting, is coming on round 7. It's why. Give me the opportunity, make it expensive, but give me the opportunity so I can do it from the start. It would be my strategy. I go on relics. I go full on relics, you know. I go less in the workplace and full on relics and other buildings. Why you limit this cool stuff? Because those relics, they give you cool powers. They give you endgame scorings and stuff. That's interesting. Like, for example, I had this when I don't actually remember well, but you can see in the upper corner, you can order capacity limits on action spaces. You know, it's like you can place anywhere, stuff like that. These are cool abilities. Why should you limit those? I don't know. So yeah, the beginning is cool, but then at the end you realize that, I don't know. Have I played something cool really or not?
Okay. Yeah, I've had this game in my closet for a while, but just due to some various things like other games coming in, I have not actually ever played it. But anyway,
Yeah, I think you'll like it, but not love it. Yeah. All right, let's get to the next topic, which is crowdfunding. And Kyle, tell me, what's your pick for the platform first of all?
well, this is on Kickstarter, and this is, this is not a small project by any means, but it's one I have been very excited for, and that is the new season of Cthulhu: Death May Die, Fear of the Unknown. And
Okay.
so, Cthulhu: Death May Die is a game I have talked about before. I got it out recently because it
Right.
was
Yeah.
Halloween time.
Mm-hmm.
And the basic game sort of came with two monsters you could fight, and then six scenarios you could play, and a lot of investigators you could use. This then there was the season two box, which was really another six scenarios and another 52 investigators with not really any monsters. And then there was this other Kickstarter box that had a couple of more monsters and a few more scenarios. This new one is going to be two more of the season boxes, which is going to really double the content you've got. The game, of course, is supposed to be where you'll take one bad guy and one scenario of what you're doing. For example, one of the scenarios, you're at the pier and a bunch of people are acting crazy, and you think they've been eating ice cream that has been tainted, and you have to go and find out and sort of find the people who've been affected by this ice cream and calm them down. Um, that's just one of them. There was one where you were trying to blow up a spaceship by loading moose with dynamite and having the spaceship pick them up. There's a lot of weird stuff. Now there is the big giant Cthulhu, and the reason this is, I guess, on my list is because finally, after several years, I got the giant Cthulhu scenario out and played it with my brother and with Victor, who were here, and we had just such a great time with it. So I don't know that it's worth $180, and that large mini um, does not really. It's not really needed for anything. It's more just table presence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a card that you actually could do most of the stuff on. But look, it's a ridiculous, overproduced game, and it's one that I really enjoy. It's one that every time I get it out and play it, I kind of think, I really wish I played this one a bit more. It just has this charm to it. And one thing I love is every scenario, with the exception of one experience we had where we just got destroyed before our first turn. Almost every scenario has come down to the last turn or two, whether we win or lose. Where somebody's on the brink of insanity and then pulls through, or everybody dies right at the last minute. So it's a pretty good cooperative game. If you like all this Cthulhu stuff, it's all here. It's got this nice kind of shuffle and try different combinations. It needs about five to seven more big monsters that you can play with, just to kind of give it that last little push. And I will say, what's disappointing about this Kickstarter is they keep releasing more investigator characters, and there's already, I mean, I don't know, 40 of them. And I really wish that they weren't focusing on those as much as focusing on the actual monsters that you'll use that will kind of affect the gameplay. But whatever, I'm still excited for it. I'm not getting the giant Cthulhu again because I already have it. But but it's another opportunity if you happen to have missed that a couple of years ago. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, just I don't know if I care, but it's this Kickstarter exclusive fest, and then you have this kind of it's $100 pledge, only $100. But then if there will be completionists who want this extra stuff, which another $400. So eventually everybody was paying $500 or something like that, and it's coming out December 2023. I doubt that. I'm over all of these Kickstarters because this is all just this blank and all of this. It's like expensive jewelry or something like that, or watches that you just buy them and they sit there. Like for you might play it, but I doubt that many people who buy this game play all of the stuff in their box, or even half of the stuff in their box. And how much they play this game, then it becomes overbloated, and that's why
Yep.
I have no faith in Simon or Come On or whatever anymore at all.
Well,
They
I
are
will
just there
say,
for the money. They don't need a
well, I'm sure
Kickstarter.
they are. This one, I will say, of all of these large, sort of overstuffed games full of too many minis, this is one where I have played almost everything. I won't say I've tried every investigator, but I've tried all of the scenarios. I've tried all of the big monsters,
Yeah, yeah,
and I've really gotten a lot out of this one. And it's actually designed in a way that makes sort of getting into it easy. And so having more stuff
yeah,
really will open up the gameplay. I know that's not always the case, but this is one that I found to be
yeah,
exceptional
yeah,
in that
yeah.
regard.
Yeah, the thing is, I said I don't dump you. You might have played it, but I'm looking at the
Oh,
average crowd, and
I
I'm
don't know
not
about the
sure.
average crowd.
Yeah, I don't know
I'm
myself, but
I'm not.
I'm speculating. I'm speculating that's the case because for me, when I got Rising Sun for a lot of money, and the shipping, all of that will probably be another $100. Um, when I got Rising Sun, let's say, I realized how huge production can get in the way of playing the game,
Mm,
in a sense,
it can.
because I've had similar games which don't have such a glorious production, and they get to the table more often or something like that.
Let's see.
It just maybe just me, or I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, for mine, as which I saw just today, is Castles in Mad King Ludwig, which will have a new printing,
Oh.
and there's the renovations expansion, which, like, you can put the tiles on top of your existing tiles, etc. You renovate the rooms. Cool. I like that idea.
Yep.
And so I'm not gonna buy it from Kickstarter. So when it comes out, I'll just buy. I'll probably, if I want to get back to Castlemagne Ludwig, I'll buy the new edition. Um, but there's the colossal version things that you can you can buy this. There's the colossal version expansion, and then your usual whatever expansion.
Right. And I have both, right? I mean,
Yeah. So if you want to get the Castle's Condition and the Castle's expansion, it's $110. Second edition, just the usual second edition plus the expansion. Oh, it's all of the expansions. Okay, so then it's fine. Yeah, I thought it's just one expansion,
oh,
but I mean it's cool. There's the cat chamber. I like the cat
oh,
chamber.
there you are.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a usual Castlemagne if you still don't have it after all the other iterations of that. Uh, feel free to
Yeah, I mean,
do
this
what you can.
mostly feels like a way to kind of get the keep the conversation going
Mm-hmm.
about the quite successful big box version of Mad King Ludwig. I enjoy the Suburbia big box, but
Mm-hmm.
it's large and cumbersome and difficult to play. This one, the big box of Mad King Ludwig, was fantastically designed in such a way that it just sort of encourages you to get it out and play it. And this is, my big concern was, well, look, I just bought this colossal edition. Um, is this going to work? And
Mm-hmm.
I do like that they have a special, pledge level for just those who got the colossal, which comes with both the regular and the colossal. So you can you can add those to your stack. It's a good game and a good way to kind of you know blow the dust off it. It's been a little while since there was any real expansions to it other than what came with the big box.
Yeah. Anyway, uh, let's get away from the crowdfunding and get back to the BGG and to the next segment, the new segments that we have, which like was last time, newer segment, which is buy, try, goodbye. So buy, try, goodbye, and we go back and forth. Last time it was Kyle's turn. Now it's my turn. We pick three games that we like and try to propose them to an opponent. In this case, to Kyle, and Kyle will try to figure out what they would buy, what they would try, and what they say goodbye. Mm-hmm. So so these are the three games in no particular order. I'm going to talk about them. The first game is a newer game. It's been in the works for so many years. It's been so late, but it's so interesting and thematic, and the theme works. The mechanisms they work, and I'm sure you're gonna like it once you play it. I checked. It seems you haven't rated it, so you haven't played it. But if you have, let me know. It Seize
Okay,
the Bean.
I have not played it.
Very good. Oh, I mean, oh, so sad, but very
Oh,
good for this thing. So
I've heard you talk about it, but I've never actually played it.
yeah, so there are all different images. So there are like the newer and older images, but there's a lot of expansions as well. You can customize it, and it's a very much a customizable game, and it should be because this is, I would say, a mash of different mechanisms. A lot of great stuff. You have worker placement, you have deck building, you have set collection, and you have display an array of cards. You are in a cafeteria. You're trying to serve the customers. It has a really cool customers and line up mechanism where you have to serve customers in line, and some of them are happy, are going to stay in your cafe for longer. Some of them are angry, are going to give you bad reviews, etc. And you are trying to, of course, get more customers into your line, basically by playing this deck building aspect where you are grabbing the cards from the center, kind of buying the cards. They go into your discard pile. Eventually, they get into your deck and in your line. And the more fame you have, the bigger line you have, etc. You're trying to manage all of that. And while you do that, these customers have all the abilities if you serve them right, and you can, make yourself bigger. But they also need some extra stuff. They need croissants. They need a special cappuccino, whatever, a stronger coffee, and you have only basic things. And so you are trying to collect all sorts of different upgrades for your cafe. And while you upgrade the cafe, it also upgrades the worker spot. So when you upgrade the left or the right side, these are different worker spots. One of them give you more cards, one of them give you more resources. And eventually, if you have the upgraded spot, you can get several things from your worker spot itself. And you're trying to see whether you are going strong with the resources, trying to just go on with the customers and trying to replace the special croissants and things. While you do all of that, you also have to think about the set collection, etc. There can be many extra different extra mechanisms, a lot of symbology. The art is really cool. It's different. The theme works well. Overall, if you get the whole package, if you get the Seize the Bean and you get the expansions as well, you can at least go with different variants as well. They're also these special variants of like Berlin Cafe, like known places of cafes that you can mix and match and stuff. There are all sorts of different things to make the game more difficult. I mean, not the rules wise, but let's say the gameplay more challenging, etc., and less challenging. Very customizable game. It's Seize the Bean, my first game.
Okay. Noted.
So the next game is the one you hear me talk about a lot, but I feel like you need to play it, and I'm sure you haven't. It's Age of Thieves.
Yes, because I think you're the only person who's played that game.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you why. Age of Thieves. So, do you like Gutenberg?
Yes.
Gutenberg. So, in Gutenberg, what mechanism do you like there? Do you like this mechanism where you are picking those cubes and actions with the cubes behind your screen? Do you like that mechanism in Gutenberg?
I do.
Mm-hmm. It's a cool mechanism, isn't it?
It's nice.
So, it's here as well.
Ah, okay.
So the thing is, you have your basic cards. You have also some special cards. You're going to be able to pick more cards as you go. The basic cards give you the movement and basic actions, etc. And so while you're picking those, you have your energy cubes. And the more cubes you put in a card, the bigger the chance you go first or second, whatever, There are also NPC players, which are guards. And you're in this kind of a city. You are in disguise. You are a thief. You're trying to steal the queen's jewelry. Or whatever it is, the palace's jewelry, the biggest one. On the way, you can also steal smaller things because they will also help you win the game, and you have your own special abilities and such. It's like a thief meets Assassin's Creed, and so you are placing those cubes and those cards. You're trying to figure out if you want to go first, second, or third. Like with some of the actions, you don't want to be first because you know exactly that the strength of the guards is 4. So they virtually have 4 cubes, let's say. Do you want to go before the guards or after the guards? And what the other players are going to do? And there's a little bit of that going on because you can ruin each other's plans just a bit. You might have some cards like the hook where you can steal crystals from other players as they're running away, but it's all confrontational. If you want to, you are thieves. You are stealing from each other. You're stealing from the crown. And so you are going out in these tunnels here. You are going around the city, hiding in the shadows, trying to manipulate the board the way that the guards will go. Like they will go chasing another player, so you can sneak in and grab the jewelry. Once you grab the jewelry, alarm will trigger, and then one of the 4 sides of the board will still be open. All of the others will be closed. and you don't know what side of the board will be closed, and you have to
And
escape through that particular side of the board, which becomes an extra thing. So, oh, right. So, but if all the guards are on that particular side, what should I do? I have to, manipulate the shadows and things and other players. I have to, like, I can throw another player in the way of the guards, so they will, take them to prison, etc., and you will escape. So this is the game about the heist, the thievery, and this kind of an adventure going on, and the take that elements, they are not in the way at all, because it all feels thematic. It all feels like it should be there. We are thieves. We shouldn't trust each other. And there are
of
the
course not.
expansions that give you more characters as well with special abilities. And overall, it's such a clever, such a different game. It feels like this kind of a hidden movement game, but it's really not. But
Okay.
it feels a little bit of that. All right. So
Very
the
well.
third game is the game about cosmos, a game about science, the one I talk about a lot. I think you should try it at least once, just to see how very interesting and unique themes can be implemented into the games, and the game itself is really cool. That's Cosmogenesis.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cosmogenesis, if you look at this cover, first of all, I love this cover, don't
It is
you?
a great cover.
It is a great cover. Great. We are on the same page. Now, if we talk about, and I'm trying to find the right picture. All right, let's see. Let's see. This one is fine. We'll talk about the theme itself. So you are creating planetary systems. You're creating the Earth. You creating all the other different planets, and you go about your usual worker placement, where you can grab the asteroids, you can grab the planets and the giants, whatever the gas giants, etc. And you can also grab the point scoring things, where if you have things in particular order and such, you get the points as well. But the coolest part is that in order to build a planet, you need to have kind of a Earth-like planet. You need to get the water in there, but then you need to get the bacteria in there so we can start the life, etc., and get to the humanity. And you need to also have planets of different sizes so they can go around. You're throwing meteors into the planets to form them. And as the planets collide, the thing is that the smaller planet will become the part of the bigger planet. And you need to make clever decisions about what planets you collide when you put them on the steroid belt. And so it's really cool mechanism. And all the bigger planets, the like gas giants, you cannot collide with them because they are special ones. But all the other planets, you can create moons, you can create bigger planets that way. However, you want to meet the requirements of those styles. So you have, like, in the outer belt, you have the planet of size at least two. On this inner belt, you have the moon, and this, and you have that. It's a clever puzzle of those things, and it feels extremely thematic how you collide all of these planets. This part is just so interesting and clever. You definitely need to try this mechanism and this game. All
Okay.
right.
So now I've got to make my decisions. This is tough because they all sound like the kinds of games that might be interesting to at least take a look at once, and perhaps even if I say goodbye to one, that doesn't mean it's a forever parting. Um,
May we meet again? Yeah.
exactly. So I will say I'm going to put the buy on Seize the Bean, and that's because I've heard you talk about it enough times. And in fact, I was
Mm-hmm.
at at Essen, and I saw it on a table for sale, and I almost did buy it, but I did not,
Mm-hmm.
just because I didn't have any more room in my suitcase.
I see.
So, so because that was an almost buy, I think that one makes it easy for me. I'll put that one as my buy. Now,
To
with
to
within
to
the
to be
oh,
honest, yeah, I was thinking about, like, the game that most suits you. I think the strongest game here is Seize the Bean. I would definitely think about you picking up this game as buy.
yeah,
But
and
flying
it's
goodbye, I don't
it's
know.
it's possible I might at some day, because I've already almost just sort of blind bought it once. Between Age of Thieves and Cosmogenesis, I'm not. That's a tough choice, and I probably will eventually try them both. But I guess I think I'm going to go with I'm going to give the try to Age of Thieves and say goodbye to
Mm.
Cosmogenesis.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know the reason. It's just, I guess, the way you were describing it. Age of Thieves sounds a little bit more, I don't know, exciting and adventurous, whereas
Adventurous, yeah.
Cosmogenesis sounds a little bit more, okay, we're doing stuff and it's interesting the way we're doing it, but ultimately it's not really all that much, I don't know, adventure happening, so much as point scoring. But I probably would eventually try both. But there you go. I'll give Seize the Bean my buy. I'll give Age of Thieves my try, and I'll say goodbye temporarily to Cosmogenesis.
Yeah. I figured out you would say that in that particular order because yeah, as I said, it's Age of Thieves sounds more adventurous. It's easier to sell Age of Thieves than Cosmogenesis because it's scientific, and the way I want you to try it because there's the worker placement is very usual one. It's nothing special. The thing about this particular mechanism, so the mechanism is so strong for me. I want you to try it, but Age of Thieves as an overall experience sounds better when you talk about it. Of course,
Sure. No, it's easier to sell. All
easier to sell. Yeah.
right.
All right,
There we
let's
go.
get to the topic of the day, which is top 10 clever games. So now I didn't give you any like special requirements what would be the clever game, but so we might do different lists kind of a thing, you know,
We might.
because the thing is for me a clever game is not where I like of course I feel clever in those games, but it can be in a difficult game. But clever games for me are the ones that like it's your first time playing these games and you just understand it. It just clicks. For me, is a clever game. So now I didn't put any party games on the list because I mean those are party games. Um, I wanted to go with strategic games, but which are very clever. They are
Mm.
very well streamlined. Not very streamlined, but well streamlined. Because I mean, if it's very streamlined, it might be on the verge of just too easy. You know, a children's game. But very well streamlined is something that everything seems clever. Like let's say with the Godspeed, it's like when you play Godspeed, you constantly check the rule book because you have newer and newer questions arising. So these are not clever games for me. The clever games for me are the ones where I might pick the rule book once or twice because I just forgot how the end game scoring goes, stuff like that. These usual things because I just didn't read it through. Let's see what happens. But mostly I don't need the rulebook anymore once I read it because everything is so smooth like a butter. So
Sure.
these are my clever games.
Okay. Um, I did. I think our lists might be more similar than you're thinking. I think for the most part, that is a feeling I have. About there's just something about this game that feels like it was special or really intelligent about it, or just sort of some sort of
Intelligent.
spark of magic to the game. I only have one. I mean, most of these are much shorter, smaller games, uh,
Mm-hmm.
just because there's sort of more time. If you take something like Weather Machine, that has
Oh yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
30-page rule book, and there's more sort of time to make you feel like the game is smart, but sometimes then you feel it's smarter than you. Um, I so some of these longer games don't really fit. There is one on here that is a longer, heavier, more involved game for me. But that's
Mm.
just because it's the first one I think of when I think of just a very sort of smart, clever game where the things and the systems just really click. And the rest are going to be lighter, but I guess we'll talk about them when we get there.
Yeah, mine is also mostly lighter games and one which is a little bit more
And
involved game.
I won't say I didn't put any party games on my list, but I did. I will say I didn't put many party games on my list.
Yeah. For me, I just try to not to put party games. I didn't put any party games, and the other thing is that I tried to make a list where we talk about some newer games for
Yeah,
once,
I did
because
take. I mean, look, I think Summoner
I
Wars
could
is the most clever game in the world, but I did not put it on my list.
like, or for me, like the Green Masquerade, I could have put it anywhere. It's like it's a clever game, but I didn't put it on my list. Yeah, that's surprise. But it's just there are so many, so I could exchange them for other clever games anytime. So
Sure.
there are so many of them. So yeah, just 10
Okay.
cool games I would recommend as clever games. Let's go to the
Let's
number
see.
10.
All right. My number 10 is it's an odd game. It's a game that's, a lot about components and chips, but it's really very much an abstract game. And I don't really even know how to describe it. The game is War Chest. And I
It's
don't know if
it's
you've
even
even
odd. Yeah.
I don't know if you've even played War Chest, but
No.
in War Chest, you're trying to sort of conquer a few scoring spots. And you're using your chips, and your chips are units, and they're also the activation of units. So, what you'll do is you'll draw out a certain number of chips, and each chip can be used to buy more. It can be used to sort of place out on the board, but you can only ever have one stack of chips of one particular type at a time. And then it can also be used, well, you can pull it out to activate
Mm-hmm.
that unit on the board. And so it's a clever balance between, do I, just buy, I want all the chips, but I'm building the contents of my bag. And if I dilute it, then I won't be able to activate things. And I want to keep this unit alive, so I need it to be strong, but I also need to have enough of these chips that I can actually activate and do stuff with it. It's a really smart balance between those. And there's, a couple expansions now, so there's a lot of different chips that you can use and play with. And this one is one that I just really find to be such a clever use of systems and use of kind of deck
Mm-hmm.
building, even though it's a bag full of chips, but in a way that's just an abstract game unlike anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've not played it, but there was one other game I thought about, like a spatial combat game. Let's say it was Tashkalar, which I know you don't like, but it's also a clever game. I didn't put it on my list. I played it
Okay.
so long ago that but yeah, such games can be quite clever. They are abstract. They are kind of a spatial combat where it doesn't feel like you are really attacking me, too much. It's like
Oh, well,
chess.
this one you kind of feel like you are because you're trying to take out the opponent's units.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like
But
chess, but it's chess, which is
yes,
tricky.
exactly.
All right, so my number 10 is the one that you might not agree, but it's why it's so low on my list is because
Ah,
it's for me it feels clever, and that's why I feel that this game is much less appreciated that designers other games, and that's Cloud Age.
okay.
People don't like who love Fister. I don't think they love Cloud Age. They say it's too easy, and
Mhm.
that's why I say, but that's great because it's clever. There's not much. I mean, like there's a lot of game, but I mean, you're just moving your finger around, and then you stay on that stuff and get something. It's there's no restrictions. There's no special rules. How you move, you just move, get in stuff, and all the other stuff is just exchange the resources for this stuff, and turn over the tile. The board where you get the water and resources, also very clever. It's like play two cards. One is the speed, another one is resources. There's no. I mean, there's a little bit of text on the cards, but I mean, come on. The cards that you build up, they are also very clever, easy to understand, and this mechanism of the clouds covering the resource spots, and then you never feel like there's a story element, whatever. Uh, but I mean, all of the things that you do, you never ask, like, you just do it. It just goes smoothly. You never ask, oh, how this one works. It's everything in this game, every part of this game. I mean, like as the whole package, it can be a bit more difficult than other games on my list. But as these separate elements, as you go with the separate elements, the movement is very easy. The cloud, this clouds cards mechanism very easy. Upgrading your ship, extremely easy. Just spend the resources, upgrade your ship. Now you move faster. You know, it's there's nothing to it that is it's very well streamlined, in my opinion. That's Cloud
Sure.
Age.
Yeah, look, I really enjoyed Cloud Age too. I have some qualms with it. It's sort of about not wanting to play the story through, but wanting to keep everything in. It makes it a little bit weird to set up.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had a great time with it. I don't. I will say it is definitely. It feels a little bit lighter than some of the other games of its other brothers and sisters, but I still really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I
Right.
disagree heavily with it, with your
Okay.
choice.
Okay. It's my number 10. So it's the heavy.
Okay.
I think the heaviest game on my list.
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
okay.
It is. It is definitely. All right. Let's get to number 9.
Let's go. Okay, my number 9 is a very light game, and I believe this is one you have played. Uh, this
Hmm.
is it's a card game. It's an entirely card game, and it's all about sort of combinations and making things work together. It's had several iterations, and somehow the publisher has convinced me to buy it 3 times now. Um, and the game is Fantasy Realms.
Okay.
So, with Fantasy Realms, essentially what you're doing is you've got a hand of cards, and each turn you're going to pick up a card, whether it be from the deck or whether it be sort of from an open, ever growing discard area, and then you're going to discard one of your cards, and you're trying to take and make the hand of cards you end the game with work together. And the cards are all going to say different things, like extra points if you have the Book of Changes and the Tower and a Wizard and a Candle. It's worth 100 points. If you don't have those, well, then this maybe isn't what you want. Or you'll have one that says, try and get numbers, unique numbers from 1 to 7, and
Mm-hmm.
so you're just trying to work with this, or so things will have penalties if they're paired with different things, and you're just kind of trying to manage this. But ultimately, the rules are so simple. It's add to your hand and then get rid of something from your hand. And I just really enjoy it. It all comes together nicely, and you feel like you've done something, even though the game is incredibly short. And in fact, the game often takes longer to score than it does to play. There's been an expansion which I think is also quite good, and I just really enjoy this game. I feel like it's a clever, fantastic way to have an experience. Now there have been some duplicates, right? I mean, they've done it
Mm-hmm.
in a Star Trek universe. They've done it in a Marvel universe. There's Red Rising, which it looks like Daniel has mentioned here, that sort of tries to put it into the uh, an IP based universe. Then
Mm-hmm.
I recently got an Old Testament version of this game that was set with Old Testament characters. But I still think, after all of the iterations, good old classic Fantasy Realms is still probably the strongest.
Mm-hmm. I'll say that I don't like Fantasy Realms. I like Red Rising, so for me it's the opposite.
Okay.
I wouldn't put Red Rising on the list because it's not. It doesn't feel clever in a sense. But that's the thing for this one as well. So despite me not liking the game, it's not in the way of me seeing if this game is clever or not. For me, this game is not clever. I wouldn't say that it's a clever game. It's just me. I can see your point. I can see where you say it's a clever game. For me, it is not. It's simple in a sense, but as you play it for the first time, you don't understand the thing. It just flows. You don't really play the game, and that's where it clicks off. And that's where I would say it wouldn't be on my list at all. If the game doesn't click from the first game, it's not a clever game for me. Otherwise, it would have clicked. So this one is just so much text, so much interaction between cards. I cannot see how it can be clever, but you do.
Very
Yeah. All right.
well.
My number 9 is a game that you might disagree because of one of the elements of the game, but overally, once you start playing the game, it's the other part is also easy. It's just all about collect items and spend items. Nothing more, nothing less. Very simple build and things. That's Horrified. I think Horrified is a clever game. And as I said, some of you might disagree with me, but with Horrified, I feel like this. Like I played it with different folks, and all they say, oh, like when they start playing, oh, it's so easy. I mean, like, oh, you just collect items. They already know. They already is like, okay, I have 5 actions. 1, 2, 3, 4, collect. Okay, 5. Okay, and the only thing is the monsters. If the Frankenstein and the Bride, maybe a little bit more. I wouldn't say complicated, but weird in a sense. All the other ones just collect these particular items, or let's say the strength of the item, or just collect the yellow item and go and spend it. That's it. That's how you win the monster. And so the combination monsters, they can be a bit less clever, a bit more clever, but overall there's just you go around the city, you collect all of the items, and you spend those items on particular spots in order to get rid of the monsters. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get through the monster abilities, but it's such a family weight game. I cannot see how it can be ruined on your first play. There's not much going on. On the other hand, there's it's like there is enough going on that you feel satisfied, and you feel
I
clever
see.
within the game where you figure out like, oh, with our combined actions, and you use that special action which you have the white cards, and you use those cards so we can get that monster there. I teleport with my ability, and you use the items on that, or give me the items. I go there. You do that. It's like from the first game you already start strategizing, already start feeling the game, the theme, etc. Horrified.
I mean, look, I love Horrified as much as anybody else. I enjoy the experience. I'm not sure that it gives me really the clever feeling, but I guess that's your feeling about the game. I look, I love it. I do wish there were more to it. I guess it kind of
Yes.
leaves me wanting just that little bit more to make me keep coming back to it. But look, it's a great use of the theme. It's based kind of loosely on one of my favorite movies growing up. This Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and
By the
I
way,
anyway.
yeah. There are I've seen the PNP, the print and play versions of users monsters that they create.
Hmm.
I want to try. I want to print them out and try them.
Okay.
So they are
Well, good
like,
luck.
we'll see if they are how balanced they are. But I mean, like, why not?
Yeah.
They can be cool.
Sure. There you go. All right.
Let's get to number 8.
Let's go.
Okay.
All right, so it's my number 8. I guess all right. My number 8, and this might be a bit of a cheeky response, but bear with me. I actually do feel that this is a pretty clever game. It does not look like much, and the name, of course, is So Clover, which is a bit on the nose. And I did say there were not no party games on my list,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
this one it just works, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's you've got these 4 cards that each have 4 words on them, and you put them randomly on your little clover thing, and then you write a word that connects the two that are facing each leaf. Super simple. Everybody does it at once. Then you take a picture of it with your phone so you can remember where the words were. Uh, That's not in the rules, but it's definitely a pro tip. Then you take your cards, you shuffle it, you add one, or if you've played the game a few times, add two, and then you hand it to the group who's trying to figure out how you would have organized these. How you would have organized these words, right? And figure out which one's the fake one if possible, and really try and place them in a way that reconnects the connection that you were finding. It
Mm-hmm.
takes sort of the same experience that you would have in a code names type game, and
Yeah.
really, I guess, dials down the pressure and gives a great experience that really just doesn't quite feel like it's the rules are so simple and the
Mm-hmm.
experience is so much fun. The only qualm I have is that the score doesn't really matter. You're trying to get points, but then you I guess compare yourself to what you did before. But the game itself, just this idea of working together to try and undo a puzzle that you're creating for everybody else. Everyone's kind of creating this puzzle simultaneously. I really enjoy So Clover.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. I didn't put any party games on my list. Uh, it's it sounds similar to just one, which is also like you don't care about the scorings. You care about
Well,
people getting your
it's
logic
yeah, it's
and.
definitely the same line, even as just one, right? It's the same
Mm-hmm.
publisher and uh,
That's something I
the
want to
same
try.
size
Yeah.
rule book.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So my number 8 is another little bit more involved game. So all my I don't know if my number 1 is also involved in a sense, but we'll get to that. My number 8 is a cooperative game. He has some special abilities, but it's so clever and easy. And once you start playing, you discover things as you go, so you can very smoothly start the game, and that's Subterra. And I think Subterra is, and first of all, cooperative games are clever in a sense, if they're the easier ones, like Horrified, etc. And Subterra, for me at least, might not be for you, is definitely a clever game, because you just start from the exit, whatever, and you just pull the tiles. You go somewhere, something happens. There's, there's not much to it, and
I agree with that.
yeah, but on the other hand, it's
There's not
very.
much to it.
The thing is that there's expensive, but the thing is that there's not much to it. But on the other hand, the whole premise of the game, why people like it, is the exploration. It's the unknown. It's where you turn over this is one of my favorite things in games. Like, might be my favorite things in games, where I step somewhere, I turn over the tile, and I see what happens, or I see what I have discovered. I love that to the core. This is my, I in many games. It's like, when the seventh continent as well was something like that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the Forgotten Waters or something like that. It's like when you go somewhere you don't know where you go, but then you discover that it's such a satisfying thing. I love it, and I love it here. And gameplay wise, just sometimes you turn over the event card, something happens. The only thing is that you have your special abilities, but if you explain them, you figure them out, then they're also very straightforward, streamlined. The base
Mm-hmm.
game of Subterra is all about just go somewhere, explore it, and then eventually try to find the exit, and then get out. The your turns are quick. You don't have a lot of actions. I mean, like, you don't have a list of actions. Like, you can choose from 10 actions. It's not that. If that would be the case, it wouldn't be clever. That's why I try to avoid games where you can do a lot on your turn, because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel clever anymore, because it's like the actions should be quick as well. So Subterra, a horror-ish cooperative game about being in the dungeon discovering. There's Subterra 2, which I'm not sure
Is there?
will come out.
I was gonna say, is there Subterra too?
I mean, I backed it technically. Some of the files are
Mm-hmm.
printed, but I mean, like, no, it's the company is in struggle, financial struggle, so I'm not sure if I will ever see my copy of Subterra 2. but that one
That's
seemed to be more
unfortunate.
involved. Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Anyway.
Well, I didn't really like Subterra very much at all. Um, so I'm not sure that I felt it was clever at all. I kind of felt it was underwhelming at best. But it sounds like you've had a much better experience with it than I have.
Oh, me and my friends. Yeah,
Yep.
everybody
So
loved it here.
great.
So
If you need an
this
extra
seems to
copy. All right, my number seven is a brand. Or yes, number seven. My number seven is a brand new game, one I talked about a couple
brand
of
new on this
Wednesdays
list.
ago. It's first time on this list, and it's
First
first
time on
time
this list.
on any of our lists. This is sort
Oh,
of the
really?
new hotness. Well, I don't know if it's hotness, but it's the new game from Days of Wonder, and this is one that just yes, it's that one.
The hot pocket. Hot
This
pocket.
is a the game is called Heat, Pedal to the Metal, and it is a racing game, and it uses an interesting combination of deck building, push your luck, special abilities, everything you can do, but it's very modular. You can make it as simple or as complex as you like. You know, at its core, you're trying to make a couple of laps around a track. Depending on the track, it's two or three, and cross the finish line first. What you're doing, you've got a hand of seven cards. You've got your speed, which is how many cards you play, right? You can increase your speed to play more cards. You can decrease your speed to play fewer. The more cards you play, likely the faster you'll go because the cards have numbers generally from 0 to 5. But you get to these turns, you know, these hairpin turns, and if you're going too
Mm-hmm.
fast around them, you either suffer a penalty or you might spin out of control and have to sort of be picked up by the Lakitu and carried back to where you fell off the track. But it's super fast. I remember we played it just the other day when my brother was visiting, and he, after a couple of rounds, and he really enjoyed it, wanted to play it right again. It's just that, and that's how it was with me at Essen, right? I wasn't really into it at all until I sat down for the demo, and after the demo, I went straight there and bought it because it is just such a fun, interesting use of whatever you want to call it, some deck building, some push your luck, right? Like I mentioned, you can sort of do blind boosts of your cards, and that could be exactly what you need, or it could be exactly what you don't, or you can sort of use this heat resource and push yourself to the brink, but be
Mm-hmm.
aware
Mm-hmm.
that at that point, one mistake is really going to cost you. So
Beware.
it
Yeah.
it's just a really smooth, straightforward game with an easy goal that anybody can get, and it just feels like nothing else out there. I really am enamored with Heat.
Okay. Yeah. Now play that one. I want to try this
And
one. It seems to be expensive, and it seems to be not out
it's
yet
not.
in a
It's
sense.
not. It's. I think it's out in French,
Yes,
but
it's
it'll
out in
come out
French.
before the end of the year in English. I'm sure. It's a Days of Wonder game, so it'll be everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's cool. Uh, my number seven is now that's where it's on the edge of like I don't want to put any party games. It's not a party game. It's a cooperative game, but it's like an activity. And but it was nominated for Spiel des Jahres, whatever the I think it's or I don't know Spiel des Jahres or something else uh, from that line, and that's Micro Macro
Oh, it
and
actually won, I believe.
or one or Spiel des Jahres winner. Okay, Spiel des Jahres winner. Okay, uh, but so you've played Where's Waldo? I mean, some people played Where's Waldo in US, and I don't know if we played it uh, in Europe that much. Waldo is more US thing. But let me see if I can find the picture. Whatever, something like that, And Micro Mega City is all about Where's Waldo, and in a sense, what you're doing, you have those mission cards, and they introduce you to the case, and then they say where you need to start, and then eventually you need to go through each card, like
Hmm.
Where did the murder take place? Where did the culprit escape? What did they left behind? Where did they start their journey? So blah 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 blah. All of these things. You go through those mission cards. You start, but you navigate through this huge map of all sorts of different pictures and people and meeples and houses and things. It's like so many things in that particular map, all at once. And there are all of these scenarios in that particular map, and you're trying to figure it all out. And you feel you feel clever in different ways. So you can just start playing. There's no rules basically. I mean, like it's so clever in the sense that basically no rules involved. Yes. The other thing about this cleverness, it feels clever when you find stuff.
It
I can
does.
see this spot. I can see that. Wait. Oh, this piano. Wait, there is a rope, and I think I can see the scissors. Whatever. It's like this kind of a deduction kind of a feel of a clever. You feel clever in both senses, and I feel like Micro Macro City. It's something to be honest, I avoided this one because you can
Hmm.
see the whole map. You can see how huge it is. But I mean, I didn't feel like playing this one. So it's like, where's Waldo? Why? It's an activity? I don't know. But I was given this game as a Christmas gift or something like that.
Ah.
And yeah, and then I basically like, okay, I'm gonna try it out. And I tried it out with one of the people who they're not gamers at all. One of the first games ever. Maybe they played Uno or something like that. No, Alice and Monopoly kind of things, but you know. And so they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm probably not gonna understand the game. Like, let me show you this one. And they were so involved. In
Okay.
seconds, they're like, oh yes, oh I found this one. No, here, oh yeah. This it feels. You feel clever. Everybody feels clever. Macro City, the clever city.
There you go. Yeah. Look, I'll give this one to you. It's. I enjoy watching sort of the time progression of things and how you can kind of figure stuff out. So,
Yeah, within this huge map
huge
of,
map.
of yeah, all sorts of pictures. Let's go to number 6.
All right, my number six is a game that for a while I was convinced I did not like. My very first play was bad, but some friends convinced me to give it another try. And after another try with
Mm.
people who understood it a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
it sort of became a lot better. And I've kind of really become enamored with this game. Actually, it just does so much with so little. And that game is Res Arcana.
Mm-hmm.
So Res Arcana, you have a very tiny deck. I think it's like 8 cards. You have
Yeah.
one character, and what you're trying to do is manipulate the stuff to get the points. And the stuff you're going to manipulate is really going to depend upon what cards you have and what's available. There's all these sites that are out there, and it does have my least favorite mechanism in all board games, probably in it, which is constantly counting your points. Um, but uh, other than that, I'm willing to look sort of to look aside and enjoy the experience because it really does feel very clever as you make some combo. This gives me this and this gives me that. I found some exploit. I get a whole bunch of death off of this thing, and then I can pump it into this building and get a bunch of points out of that. So I wish there were a way to sort of not constantly be tracking points and constantly counting everybody else's. But I really do enjoy the game for what it is, and I've repented, seen the light, and made a switch. True? Yeah.
Okay. Very quick things.
Hmm.
Limited. Boring. Uh, Counting points and race to 10 points in an engine building game. Extremely boring and bad. Don't like.
Ah,
Thank you.
I see you disagree with my choice.
no.
You'll
I don't
disagree
know.
with
I don't know. I don't know if it's clever or not.
you
It's so
disagree with my
boring that
choice. My number five will shock you.
I don't know if it's clever or not. It might be clever. I didn't like it. It's I no bad game. Um,
Great game.
so my number six is something I think you will agree on, and the list where we talk about clever games cannot be without some of the escape room games, because in escape room games you feel really clever, but not in all of the games. For example, the exit games. In exit games, I feel stupid. I don't feel clever or anything like that. But in Unlock series, and you can pick anyone, any whatever, there are less good scenarios, or there are some really great scenarios. But Unlock is clever. All of the app things, it uses a lot of the app. It uses a lot of the kind of innovations within those. Like you feel clever when you are like, oh, it's like a picture, but it tells me on the card that you have to see through it, and then you point the phone on a card, and the phone shows you some extra stuff on a card. It kind of catches the image of the phone and turns on your camera and shows something like all of these things. It's like you blow into the phone for whatever reason, then you feel clever. Oh, I'm blowing the horn or whatever. All of such stuff, and the clever, you just it's easy. You just combining the red with blue stuff and getting the numbers and trying to get the right stuff, and then trying to escape the room. But it's more adventurous. There's no one room you're in. Usually it's like the map or things, like you're always traveling, you're doing something extra. Yeah, but it's all just clever, cool puzzles. Maybe sometimes not clever, so some scenarios are not the best, but most of the scenarios I played were so much fun, and all of the stuff they do with the app is very clever. I love it.
Hmm.
Exit room games, I've burned on them. I'm done with them. Unlock,
Okay,
still going.
good to hear.
Let's get to number five.
Let's go. All right, you hated Res Arcana. Are you ready for my number five? My number five is a game that just keeps coming back for me, right?
Oh, I
Of
hate it
all the
already.
games I play all the time, this one just feels so clever about it. It has a really clever approach to information, a clever approach to sort of not working together, but sort of, problem solving, I guess. And this is a game of blood and carnage in the hospitality industry. The game is, of course, The Bloody Inn.
Mm-hmm.
So I really love the Bloody Inn, right? I mean, you've got these two actions, and you're using the cards for a variety of different purposes, different bonuses they give you. You can sort of get the bonuses. You can use them to make more other actions more efficient. And you're also managing a limited resource of money, and also managing the timing of when you convert that money into these checks so that you can keep getting more. Some of the limits are, of course, a bit artificial, but other than that, I really have enjoyed this. And another kind of aspect that you don't necessarily grasp your first time is that first time through the deck, you're learning what's in there, because there are going to be some of
Mm-hmm.
these scoring cards, and they're really like, there's one that gives you a lot of points if there's a lot of green cards left in the deck. Okay, I pay attention, I see that's there, and I plan so that I am able to get it when it comes back around, but I'm also counting the green cards to make sure it's worth my time. There's sort of all these sort of aspects of the game that kind of sit underneath the surface that really only come out after you've played it a few times. It's fast, the rules are pretty easy. There's a
Mm-hmm.
great expansion that adds a lot of different ways to kind of twist the formula just a little bit, and can create some bizarre moments, but definitely creates a lot of fun. This is just a game that it's one of those ones that I think only I talk about, but I do just
Yeah.
keep coming back to it year after year, and it just feels so clever to me. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a very special game to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you got it right. I disagree on a clever side. It's
You didn't
fiddly.
like the game.
Yeah, I didn't like the game, but I didn't like the game because it's fiddly. It was fiddly for me. I mean, I would have liked the game. I mean, because I should like this game. When I look at it, I
You
should
should,
like this
yes.
game, but it's and there's money involved. I like economy and money, and but it's fiddly. It's unintuitive. It's just not clever. That's the way for such a card game. It's not clever enough for me. So, and you said you need few plays in order to understand it, or what?
No, you need a few plays to sort of see what's underneath the surface.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, good choice. Maybe.
Amazing choice.
So my number five, and also a very simple game, on a verge of being a party game, but it's really not. And that's Similo. Similo is, I would say, think about Mysterium, a very simple version of Mysterium, because Mysterium doesn't feel clever in a sense, but Similo does. And about Similo is that so you have all of these different cards. This is Harry Potter set. There's animal set, myth set, fables, wild animals. Though there are animal set where there's a chicken and the bear on the cover, and then they released wild animals. And I'm like,
That's a little silly.
shouldn't bear be in the wild animals? Okay, whatever. This is a Harry Potter set, etc. So all of that. Now, this is a very clever game in the sense that basically one player is clue giver, and the others try to eliminate the cards from the center until one card is left, and that should be a right answer. So that clue giver knows the card, and he's trying to, and they are trying to give you hints with the similar cards. So all of the cards are some characters from somewhere or animals, whatever. The right answer is giraffe, and you're trying to with all other animals, you're trying to tell them which is the right card. And the cool part about that is that you can give two different hints. If you put it horizontally or something like that, it's then you're hinting that it is not related to the card you are giving as a hint. And if you're putting this vertically, then it means that there's some similarities to the card you're hinting, etc. So you're trying to, manipulate all of that. Very
Hmm.
clever. I can pull it out. I can play it with my parents and grandparents, whatever. I can play it with anyone with children. It's just such a clever. It's like timeline, but timeline for me is activity. It's not even a game. Here is there's a game there. Yeah.
Hmm.
So Similo
Okay,
is
okay.
my choice.
I enjoy it. I've had a great time with it. I definitely think it shines if you mix two sets together,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
just to get kind of rather than comparing like to like, you're comparing like to very different. Uh,
I'm not mixed it yet because I just
uh,
got the different sets,
Very well.
and I need to go through the sets first, do the simple things, and then
Okay.
yeah. All right, let's get to number four.
All right, my number four is a game that came out a couple years ago, and it's
Mm-hmm.
become one of my go-to two-player games. Just one that I'm always in the mood for. The game is Blitzkrieg, and that name will not make it easy to find. But this is the World War II
I
in
know it's
20
easy.
minutes. Okay. So this is a game of sort of you've got a little hand of usually three of these tokens, and you're trying to place them out and move this kind of tug of war marker along toward your side on a track, and you want to be there at the time that scoring occurs. And there's three different tokens. There's the tanks that can go on brown spaces, the boats that can go on blue
Mm-hmm.
spaces, and the airplanes that can go anywhere. But only, of course, you're only ever using one of these active rows at a time. There are special abilities that are going to trigger based upon which space you happen to choose. There's a whole element of timing things so that you can make sure that this goes off at the right time for you. There's an alternate way to win. So one way to win is to get to, I think it's 25 points. And the alternate way to win is to make it so your opponent can't play anything. either by
Mm-hmm.
destroying their hand of tiles or just creating a situation where they have limited options. It's very fast. The rules are pretty simple. I do wish the tokens were a little nicer quality. I would love to get some of those acrylic tokens that they make for other games. These are fairly cheap feeling cardboard pieces. But other than that, I really love this game and I love how it feels. And I love its expansion. It has a sort of a bizarre expansion that you can use that kind of gives you a different way to approach these active areas. There's a bunch of different ones, and they'll come out in different orders based upon who wins. Um, I just really love this game. It feels very clever. It lets you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you've had a really tense, tight experience in a very short time period.
Yeah. I haven't played this. I have no desire.
I think you might enjoy it anyway.
Yeah, I don't like this
Not if
mechanism.
you don't play it.
I don't like this mechanism. I don't like the theme. I don't like how it looks. It's just on all
Okay.
cylinders. It just doesn't. All right. So my number 4 is something you're gonna agree with because it's a rock paper scissors game that we both like very much. To play one, it's Combo Fighter.
Sure.
Now, Combo Fighter is a rock paper scissors game where you are just putting the cards down and then comparing them, and whoever wins a round, let's say they can add extra cards for the extra damage, and you take the damage from your deck. So whoever has the deck depleted, the deck and hand depleted, they lose the game. It's so fast, it's so clever. You play it in like 15 to 20 minutes. Just put the cards down, compare, uh, rock paper scissors, whatever. You win. I add this combination, lose 7 cards, and the different styles of different fighters, they can be a little different, and all the special abilities that they have, but in a very simple way. It's such a fast and simple game, as clever as it can be, and still so much fun. That's my number 4, Combo Fighter.
All right. I enjoy Combo Fighter. I could have put it on the list. I can
Mm-hmm.
see where you're coming from that.
All right, let's get to number 3.
Let's go. All right. My number three. Number three is a game that has had a bit of a resurgence. I think it got reprinted. It's one of those games, one of the later games from the old Tasty Minstrel catalog,
Mm-hmm.
and one that I really enjoyed back in the day. It's a little, I guess it's not heavy at all, but it's definitely heavier than the rest of my list has been. And that game is Crusaders Thy Will Be Done. So in
Hmm.
Crusaders, you've got your own little kind of personal rondel, and you're using this Mancala mechanism, of course, to select your actions. But you can upgrade it so that each one gives you two different actions. You've got some special abilities you're going through. Then you're really kind of trying to spread out over this map and get points, right? I mean, it's very much a go out and get as many points as possible type of a
Mm-hmm.
game. But it does so with a really simple set of rules, just very, and sort of figuring out how to work this, your own personal puzzle on your board in a way that works out for you, that times things correctly. There's also an expansion, which is fantastic. I just always use the expansion now because it gives you sort of some extra things to do, different ways to approach how you're going to go for scoring. I love games where when you take something off a board, you put it out and it unlocks something better, and that's here as well. I just
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy Crusaders. I don't know that it gets talked about as much as I feel it should, but I think it's just a very clever way to do this. The theme is barely there, but the gameplay is just
It's not
fantastic.
there. Yeah. I I'm not sure if I find it clever, but it might be. It might be. I don't know. I've not played it in a while, and maybe a little bit too big of a game for. I don't know. Might be
Oh,
clever. Yeah.
my number one will shock you then.
Yeah. I'm just. I didn't feel clever myself, but I can see where you're coming from. So it might be definitely a clever game.
I find it so.
All right. So For my number three is another very simple game, and this is an abstract game and makes you feel very clever at times when you make moves, and sometimes very stupid that you didn't see the move coming. Rules wise, yet again, you can play it with anyone. It's so easy to understand. That's Onitama.
Okay.
Yeah, Onitama is an abstract game. You play your checkers, chess kind of thing, and you have your master, and you need to either catch the opponent's master or get your master to the other side to that opponent's temple, basically in center.
Hmm.
And you're using the cards. You use only 5 cards during the game. You don't need to learn any new movement. It's just 5 cards. They're constantly rotating. Whatever you use in 2 turns can be used by your opponent. It
Hmm.
becomes a available source. Then they get discard, etc. And all of these, you can go diagonally, you can go sideways, backwards, forward, and basically eating pawns like in chess. And yeah, trying to get to the end or trying to catch the opponent's master. Extremely clever.
Yep.
Nothing. It's simple, but there's enough game. You're very much involved in the game. There's nothing that is in the way of just enjoying it anywhere. So
Yeah,
number
that
one,
is, unless you add in the expansions. There's like some really wild and crazy stuff with the expansions. I think this is one
I
that
see.
maybe does not need those.
Okay, I don't have expansions, and I'm basing this on on the base game only because, of course, expansions might complicate the game.
Yeah.
Let's get to number two.
Number two, let's go.
I haven't seen anybody so excited about number two. Let's.
Well, hey, we
I I I heard something else in my head. Okay,
okay. Depends on your diet, I guess.
come out.
Number
Make,
two,
make your number
my,
two come out.
my number two is a game that I do talk about occasionally. It's a deck building game, and it is just such a clever, unique, special game that just doesn't feel like anything else. And the game is Undaunted.
Mm-hmm.
So, Undaunted is a game that does a lot with a little, right? You've got 4 or 5 unit tokens out on the board. You've got a
What's the
very
most?
small.
What is the most clever
I,
one of
I,
those?
I would put I'd put Normandy because it's the simplest.
The simplest is
But
normally okay. Hmm.
it looks like is this Normandy?
Yeah.
Looks like okay. Yeah, there you go. So right, you've got just a very small number of characters out there, right? 4 units, 6 units, whatever. And then you've got a very small supply each. The riflemen, there's 5 of them. Everything else, there's usually just 3 or 4. And you're kind of building what's hopefully a tight deck. Because kind of like War Chest, every card you play is going to be able to sort of move and activate one of your units that's out on the board in a way that's permissible for that unit. They're all printed on the card. But when you get shot, when you die, you lose a card permanently from your deck representing that unit. The initiative, bidding for initiative is usually boring. In this game, it can be absolutely critical because if I attack you and I take out one of your units, the first place you go to find that card is in your hand. So if I shoot first, I can severely interfere with your plans.
Hmm.
There's also, there's different victory conditions. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's a little bit asymmetric. And it's a very tight knife's edge balance. And some sort of, end game scenarios in this can be really very tense as you're just trying to get, one brave team of riflemen to this place so they can do what they need to do, regardless of the odds. It's just a really fantastic game. It's a small hand game too, right? You got only ever 4 cards, and one of them's going for initiative, so your turns are going to be lightning fast as well. Combat's easy. None of this sort of line of sight crap that you end up with. Okay, I've got to draw a line from the middle of this. Nah, shoot anything you want. And then there's all these. It's just there's a bunch of different scenarios you can try. They all feel just a bit different, add just a touch more complexity, a touch less, however you want it to be. I really like Undaunted, and it's one that I keep getting out, and I I can see myself continuing to do so for a long time.
All right, I have not played it, so um, my number two is another game from Game Wonders, and it's from the Russian company Cosmodrome, I think. I think so. Who made
Okay,
Smartphone Inc., etc.
sure.
This one is called Furnace,
Okay,
and Furnace is a very simple engine building game. Yeah, there will be expansion coming out, which maybe complicates things just a bit. But the whole premise of the game is that you're bidding on the cards, and you have those different tokens, one through four, and the highest bidder, let's say, if you have the highest token, then you get the card. If you are lower, then you get the compensation, the resources that are on top, or you can exchange things, or get the resources straight. And when you get the card, you stick it into your production line. Eventually, there will be a production uh, phase where you produce resources, and it's the same. You either get something or you exchange something for something else. Eventually, you try to exchange all the stuff into the money because the money wins you the game. And a very clever bidding mechanism where there cannot be same number or color on one card. There are special ability cards which you can use that break those rules, all the different rules. Very clever, feel overpowered, but every one of them feels overpowered, which
sure.
easily balances it out. And there's nothing that is in the way. There's nothing overwhelming. You just take the card, or you get the resources, or you stick the card into your production line. You use it. So you sometimes can upgrade the cards, but when you upgrade the cards, it doesn't give you a lot of text. It just gives you, okay, so now you get extra of that resource as well. It's so streamlined, so simple, and so satisfying of an engine building that, yeah, no questions asked. You just play it. You're happy.
I would agree with you. I like this. It's not on my list, but I agree. It has a. I really like the bidding mechanism. It feels different from anything else as well.
Good. Could you agree with me? All right. Let's get to the number one.
Oh, number one.
Mm.
Okay, so
Not
my
that
number
one again.
one. Yeah, it tends to come around this time every
Summoner
episode.
Wars.
No, I told you I did not look. Summoner Wars would be my number one, but I limited it from the list. I think Summoner Wars is a fantastically clever
It's
game,
not
but
clever.
I am going to restrict myself from talking about it here. My number one clever game, and this is a heavy game. This is a very different definition than what you experience what you gave when you were talking about yours. But this one, the game itself feels very clever. The interlocking mechanisms feel very clever, and this game is Through the Ages. I told you it was a big sumo wrestler of weight at the top of my list, but the way everything fits, it just feels this game just is so tight and so tense, and every lever I pull flips another switch, and making this
Yeah.
all work together and getting it in a way where I am making the most efficient use of each turn and making sure I have the right resources and have enough tokens so that I'm not overpaying for things. And I want to upgrade this technology, and the way that I do that is going to make that so that certain resources are more valuable to me, and I can be more efficient with this limited pool of things. This game is not light. This game is not simple. This game is not one you will understand it very well after your first play, or maybe even your second. This is
Or your
definitely
50th.
well, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think. Trust me, you'll know by your 50th play. If you've played this game 50 times and you don't understand it, it might be time for a different game. Um, but you've only played it once, and I've played it
Yes.
many, many times. And
Yes.
this one, it just feels like such a clever, fantastic experience of a game that just is so well connected and everything fits that I just immediately thought this is a clever game, even if it's not by any means a simple game.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Oh no. No, no, hell no. And so when you taught me the game, you said something about war. Remember?
I
The
did.
most complicated, overcomplicated, and not clever phase at all.
And
You
I
try
have
to.
changed my mind on that, actually. I've actually
Mm,
gotten to the point where I think those military actions are really exciting and an integral part of the game.
mm,
I initially I had thought about it, and the rules made it. And I had not played the new version at the time. When I remember, I taught you had it was the first time playing the new version, the new story of
yeah.
civilization, and some of that has really been streamlined in the newer iteration.
Ah, yeah. It's like to make you maybe understand how I don't agree with you at
Okay.
all on this one is like if this is a clever game, then I'm a talking sandwich. So
Oh.
I, I'm
Uh,
I
are you a cheesesteak or are you?
cheesesteak.
Oh, okay.
Phyllis.
Well,
Phyllis cheesesteak.
Philly cheesesteak, not Phyllis.
Philly. Sorry. I'm not American. I don't care. Um
Phyllis cheesesteak. That can be your drag name.
yeah, yeah. The Office. Phyllis cheesesteak. Okay. Yeah. Let's get to the game, which is actually clever.
Let's find another game that's clever.
And my number one is a new game. First time on the list, and basically the one that I think you have not played it yet.
Okay,
It's Evergreen.
I have not played it.
Evergreen from the same designer as Photosynthesis, a game about planting trees and feeling so clever about scoring them that it's so clever. Look, this game, as I say, is all about planting trees. There are taller trees and smaller trees. And the taller trees get in the way of the smaller trees when you want to get the sun to shine on them because they cast too much shadow and they don't get the sun. But the smaller trees do not block the bigger trees. And, this is basically the clever mechanism of how you score things, and you score for the biggest forest as well. So you're trying not only create the positions where things don't block each other from the sunlight, they also have this, they also have these twigs, and you need to connect the forests. You start with the twigs and you grow them into bigger trees, and then you have the rivers and the bushes. The bushes basically connect your forest, and the rivers they water the crop, so the twigs come out, and you can then grow them into trees, etc. So, and it all goes through this clever mechanism of drafting cards, and there's your own kind of a scoring thing. At the end of the game, there is that over scoring based on the fertility symbols of each section of
Hmm.
the map, basically. And when you like, based on the trees you have, for example, if you have like six fertility symbols of that red map region, and then you have three trees, 6 by 3, it's 18 points, whatever. It's like all this stuff. And the
Okay.
cool part about drafting is when you draft the cards, they give you opportunity to build or not to basically build on a particular region. You can
Okay.
forego that. You can use the action to go with wild, but it's less powerful. But it's
Hmm.
wild. You can ignore the landscape on the card. And the last card, which is not drafted, goes into that fertility stack where it enhances the scoring of that particular region. And sometimes
Okay.
when you draft that, like in Pioneer Days, like you decide what is scored, and sometimes you want to manipulate that. All of that
Yeah.
so clever. Like everybody, we started playing that, and everybody's already involved. Everybody's looking at each other like, "Ooh, that's so cool and so clever." It just
Okay.
clicked for 4 players right away. I think with 4 players, drafting interaction is cool, but as you have your own boards, then I think that it might be really cool with 2 players because it's just faster with 2 players. The scoring, you can get used to that. It's not hard. Just counting the points, which blocks which. Overly, it's such a clever, such a beautiful game in a sense. It's very stylish. I wouldn't say it's beautiful like Abyss beautiful. There's not much art, but it's very stylish.
Okay. This is what I'm willing to try. Look, the photosynthesis aspect, I did not like photosynthesis, but I've heard this one's different and better, and
There's
I'm willing to give it a try at some point.
yeah, there's no take that interaction in this game. All you do, the interaction between players is the drafting. Of course,
Yeah.
players can look at your board and say, "Oh, I'm not gonna leave you that card because you're gonna create a huge forest because of that. I'm gonna draft this card
Yeah.
away from you." That's passive aggressive kind of thing.
And that wasn't my complaint about photosynthesis. My complaint about that one was the end game. It just sort of was, okay, we've got 2 more rounds and nothing I can do will matter.
Oh,
Um,
here, yeah. Every round is like because the bigger forest each time you have the forest, you score more and more and more. So and something, but like at the end, you can feel really clever. Like you have 2 different forests. They're both big enough. You score only the biggest, and they're like, oh, and I got this particular card, so I built this bush here and that bush here. It connects the whole thing, and you feel so clever at the end, especially.
Okay.
It's very climatic in a sense. Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right, so here we go.
Here we go.
Is the episode 73 of Würfel Cast, Top 10 Clever Games. If you
Here it
agree or
goes.
not with Through the Ages.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, you might agree, yes. But you can leave it in the comments below that if you agree or not,
Yeah.
or give your suggestions on clever games. There's so many out there, and so we're probably going to see you another time. Kyle is traveling this month.
Yeah, I will be. I'm going to be going to Thailand here in a couple of weeks, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, something changed about microphone, but whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was playing with it.
Oh, don't play with the microphone, and yeah. But yeah, we'll see.
And
We'll see. Maybe I'll do.
Thanks
something
everybody for
on my own.
we had a pretty good active chat. Thanks everybody for
Yeah.
joining in that, and I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks everyone, and yeah, see you on a. I don't want to say.
Bye bye.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye. Wait. I forgot where's.
I-
Oh, here.